The Dark Ages of Doom remain veiled in shadow and mystery, yet at the heart of it stood three iconic figures who not only allowed the denizens of the Hell Dimension further access to their world, but also orchestrated an era of chaos, carnage, and unrelenting torment upon mortal souls, driven by insatiable hunger for power, greed, and immortality. The Order of Deag was among the most corrupt factions in the entire Doom timeline, though it was not always so. It began as a devout caste of priests, reverently worshipping their gods and spreading the word of the sacred doctrine. But just how deep did their depravity run? What led these priests to abandon their faith and descend into darkness? And what was their true role in shaping the Dark Ages of Doom? In this video, we delve into the lore and unravel the story of the Arbiters of the Dark Age, the Hell Priests. Long ago, the world of Argent D'Nur was dominated by the Ancestrals, colossal titans and ferocious beasts imbued with the magic of the Wraith Call. These creatures were territorial and unrelenting, leaving destruction in their wake. Creation itself withered under their wrath as they laid waste to the land. But the Wraith, who had restored life to this world, did not desire destruction. They sought harmony, a flourishing realm, and a way to rid their creation of these devastating forces. From the desolate steppe, the mighty Wraith breathed life into the first soul of man, the first Argent D'Nur. From that single breath, others followed, and the world saw the rise of these wild-blooded tribes. Yet, despite these numbers, the Argent D'Nur were no match for the giants that towered over them. They took refuge in caves and mountain strongholds where they toiled endlessly, forging weapons and discovering the secrets of the sword. They hammered steel, strengthened it to pierce bone and sever flesh. Even so, the power of their craft was insufficient to bring down an ancestral. Seeing their struggle, the Wraith bestowed a gift, their magic. With this divine blessing, the strongest among the Argent D'Nur rose as champions. Empowered by Wraith magic, they waged war against the mighty beasts. Over years of brutal conflict, they claimed dominion over Argent D'Nur, driving the creatures into the bleak and desolate valleys. At last, the age of chaos came to an end, and the time of man began. The Argent D'Nur were grateful for their newfound strength and sought to honor the Wraith who had guided them to victory. As they formed cities, cultivated the land, and raised beasts of burden, they crowned their first king, King Omero, on the obsidian throne in the Hallowed Palace. Alongside these accomplishments, they dedicated themselves to the worship of the gods who had blessed them. To show their devotion, the Argent D'Nur constructed the Cathedral of Reflection, a sacred monument to the First Ones. This grand sanctuary became a place where the people offered tribute and gave thanks. It was within these consecrated walls that the Order of Deag was established. Three honorable sorcerer priests chosen for their mastery of wraith magic. These became the spiritual leaders of Argentine society and the stewards of their faith. Faith in the Wraith became the foundation of Argentine culture. Every citizen paid tribute to appease the gods' tempestuous hunger. Sons and daughters chose either the path of the sword or the path of the alchemist, dedicating their lives to honor the Wraith. Through the Order of Deag, the Wraith trusted that their land was in capable hands. With this trust, the gods fell into a deep slumber. Yet, some Argent D'Nur sought to reach the world sphere where the Wraith resided. To enable this holy pilgrimage, the Argent D'Nur constructed the Torch of Kings. When ignited with Wraith fire, the torch summoned a Wintherin, a creature capable of carrying the faithful to the mountain's heights. As the Argenta population grew, their civilization flourished. Grand cities were built, and the capital city of Taurus Nabad became the crown jewel of their society. It served as the spiritual and political heart of Argent D'Nur, housing the royal family and the monuments dedicated to the gods and leaders. However, despite their devotion, the Argenta began to feel abandoned. Great storms and devastating quakes ravaged the lands. Isolated tribes, untouched by civilization, raided fields and slaughtered for food and gold. The lingering power of the Wraith Call also corrupted weaker minds and drove them to madness. Desperate for aid, the priests of Argent D'Nur cried out to the Wraith for guidance, but their pleas were met with silence. In the absence of divine intervention, the Argenta endured. They rebuilt fallen cities, adapted their designs to resist natural disasters, and united their strongest to form a new line of defense against the barbarian threat. Forged through relentless adversity, these warriors emerged with tempered bodies, unshakable spirit, and an iron will. They became the heart of Argentan resistance. By decree of King Omero, the Order of the Night Sentinel was founded, guardians of Argent D'Nur, protectors of the Wraith, and stewards of the Order of Deag. Many years later, during the reign of King Etrex, the people of Argent D'Nur struggled through the challenges that plagued their land, but discontent festered. A great depression swept across the realm like a long, dark shadow. They had preserved and pushed through but felt abandoned by the gods who had once created them and aided their conquest of the land. In this bleak era, known as the Time of Grief, the Order of Deag continued their worship and sought desperately to commune with the silent Wraith. Then there was a light. In this dark period, beings of white porcelain descended from the skies, ethereal figures from another world. As protectors of the realm, the Night Sentinel rose to confront the mysterious visitors, but their swords were powerless against the unearthly flesh of the Maker Angels. Yet, these entities had not come in malice. They came bearing gifts, knowledge, and the promise of eternal peace. They spoke of Erduk, a holy realm where the souls of the departed could reunite. All the Maker asked for in return was worship. The people, drowned in grief and feeling forsaken by the Wraith, embraced a glimmer of hope. The Order of Deag, though loyal to the Maker, remained torn, their allegiance bound to the Wraith and their king. King Etrex thought over the Maker's offer. To abandon the doctrine of the Wraith and leave them to their slumber was no small decision. Yet, the Maker stood before him, full of promises of a better life in a time when his people were desperate for light in the darkness. With their well-being in mind, the king accepted the Khan Maker's offer. The grand temples once dedicated to the Wraith were repurposed, adorned with statues of the Maker. The celestial beings guided the Sentinel people, bestowing advancements in technology, weaponry, war machines, and architectural marvels. Spaceflight became a reality, and the Order of Deag, ever eager to understand divine power, immersed themselves in studying the Maker's secrets. They too pledged their loyalty to the Khan Maker, working closely with her to serve the Sentinel people. Still, the Wraith were still watched over and guarded by the priests and Night Sentinel. Within the holy temples, the doctrine of the Maker replaced the older teachings, ushering in a new era of worship. The Sentinels, eager to secure their future, forged a covenant with their new-found gods. In time, the uncertainty and hardships of the past gave way to spiritual prosperity the Maker had promised. Generations later, during the reign of King Novik, Argent D'Nur stood at the height of its power, extending its influence across the galaxy. It was during this golden age that an outlander, bloodied, scratched, and on the brink of death was discovered just beyond the walls of Sentinel Prime by a scout. His origins were a mystery, and the soldiers turned to the Order of Deag for guidance. At this time, the Order was led by Deag Rannoch, Deag Nilox, and Deag Grav. Among them, Deag Grav was the most powerful, as he possessed an innate affinity for magic. Though the Outlander spoke with fiery anger of guts, demons, and death, the priests did not understand his native tongue, and by Argentine law, those who strayed from the path were to be tried in the Colosseum, and this fit the Outlander's situation, so they sent him to fight. In this arena, the human was filled by rage and fought with unmatched ferocity. The priests believed his ramblings could be interesting, and they documented as much as they could and then presented their findings to the Khanmaker. Intrigued, she ordered her followers to decipher the Outlander's language and ramblings. The fragments they uncovered spoke of demons, fire, death, and a dark realm of immense power. She saw potential, a land that may need the Maker's divine gift. However, before the Maker could delve deeper, the realm found them. Fiery gates opened, unleashing demonic hordes bent on destruction. These unholy invaders swept across the obsidian forest of the Argentine overlands like a crashing tide. The Alorum clans of the Eastern Mountains were the first to fall, followed by the city of Tolorum. As the armies of Argent D'Nur rallied to repel the demonic onslaught, the Khanmaker asked her priests to study the invaders to uncover their weaknesses. By her will, the Order of Deag began their grim work. With approval from the king, the warriors of Argent D'Nur took on the demons in their own realm. They believed that if they could understand this dark land, the source of the invasion, they could fight back. Within their laboratories, the priests experimented on captured demonic entities and made discoveries. The demons were powered by a life essence, a raw, primal magic unlike anything they had encountered. This energy, which they named Hell Essence, could be manipulated. It held the potential to elevate the Argentine civilization, but unknown to them, even the slightest contact with it was dangerous. The priests worked with the energy in close contact for a while. These changes, to them, were subtle at first, but insidious. The essence was pure energy, pure power, and pure corruption. Through their sorcery and information from the battlefields of Argent D'Nur and Hell, the priests learned that the Hell Essence was created through the torture and torment of mortal souls. The demons themselves were the hollowed remains of these souls, twisted into monstrous forms once the essence had been extracted. Meanwhile, the Khanmaker faced her own crisis. Her kind and the holy realm of Urdak itself were sustained by the Father, a divine being whose presence powered their existence. But the Father's disappearance had left her desperate for an alternative energy source. When the priests revealed the potential of Hell Essence, the Khan's allegiance to Argent D'Nur wavered. Through further experimentation and the combination of Hell Essence and Wraith energy, the Order of Deag forged a new, revolutionary power source, Argent energy. The Khanmaker was eager to solve her crisis and urged her priests to refine their discovery. She believed that if enough Hell Essence and Wraith energy could be harnessed, it would create an abundant supply of Argent energy. In this dark era, Argent energy became everything. It replaced the need for the Father as it prolonged the lives of the Maker and sustained Urdak. It also provided unparalleled benefits to the Knight Sentinel. It powered their weapons, healed their warriors, warded off sickness, and extended life. But as the unholy wars raged on, the Order of Deag's continued study and use of Hell Essence corrupted them further. These once honorable priests who had stood as guardians of the Wraith were now tainted, their souls darkened by the very energy they sought to control. The Hell Essence within Argent energy was addictive, corruptive. It insidiously twisted the minds of the priests and the Khan Maker alike. They craved it, hungered for it, until their very beings revolved around obtaining more. More for the Maker, more for the endless wars. When the Khan Maker was approached by a Dark Lord of Hell with an unholy proposition, she accepted without hesitation. The deal was clear. In exchange for the souls of the fallen on the battlefield, the Maker would gain access to a region of Hell where a factory could be constructed. The priests, enticed by the promise of power, supported the pact. Under their direction, a grim operation began. In secret, countless people were enslaved and sent to Necrovol, a desolate region of hell, where they labored to construct vast soul factories. Here, the fallen were harvested, their souls processed into Hell Essence, which was then refined into Argent energy. Once noble, the priest's intentions had been utterly consumed by greed and evil. Even the proud Knight Sentinel army, once a galaxy-dominating force under the Maker banner, was unknowingly used to further Hell's conquests. These warriors, oblivious to the dark truth, fought to claim more souls for Hell's insidious factories. The priests themselves underwent horrifying transformations. Immortality came with a price. Their eyes burned with an infernal red glow, and their skin turned pale and gaunt. Shielded by the Khan Maker, they remained hidden, yet their influence spread like a dark tide. Their words still commanded respect, even as their deeds sowed ruin. On the battlefields, the priests watched with a cruel satisfaction as countless soldiers fell. To them, every death was a boon, feeding the factories and enriching their power. For the Knight Sentinel, however, the arrival of Argent energy brought both hope and unease. Under the leadership of Commander Valen, the Sentinels had been revitalized. This miraculous elixir granted them immense strength, empowering their weapons and allowing them to venture deep into Hell to combat the demonic hordes. Yet, not all trusted this gift. While many embraced the energy, a small group refused, wary of its origins. The wars dragged on in a relentless cycle of bloodshed over the years. Demons fell to Sentinel blades, and Sentinels perished beneath demonic claws. On 3 expeditions into Hell, these warriors were impressed by one of their latest recruits, the Outlander, who had proven himself in the arena. The human thirsted for the blood of the demons, and he was relentless. Yet, from the sidelines, the priests believed that the Knight Sentinel were a little too good at their jobs. Something had to change. As the Black Star reached its zenith, a chilling darkness swept over the eastern mountains. From the shadows emerged an unholy army, swarming towards the holy city of Taris Nabad. At its center loomed a titan, the Dreadnought. The behemoth's arrival through the demonic gate caught the Sentinels off guard. Sentinel scouts were completely blindsided, and they wondered how this had happened. Was this orchestrated in some way? But the holy priests were the last people anyone would suspect. Taris Nabad was a highly populated city, and it stood defenseless before the onslaught. Where better for them to claim souls for their factories? As the minutes passed, devastation swept through Taris Nabad. Temples and towers crumbled, districts were engulfed in flames, and the clergy loyal to the Order of Deag were mercilessly slaughtered, their souls consumed. The surviving populace fled north, unaware of the betrayal that had led to their destruction. Despite their best efforts, the Knight Sentinel could not defeat the Titan and the Death Toll swords. That was until a rogue maker, Sama, intervened. This maker placed the human Outlander inside of a machine forged by the Khan Maker herself. The divinity machine had been imbued with the power of the Dark Lord himself, and as the power flowed from the machine into the human, he absorbed it and became something new. With this divine gift, the power of a god, the Outlander returned to battle and used his new power to take down the Titan. This act enraged the Khan Maker and her priests. Sama's interference was seen as a betrayal of their plans. A new problem had been created, and they just had to deal with it. On a high note, after their victory against the Dreadnought and its hordes, the empowered Outlander led the Knight Sentinel into hell once again. This time, however, they uncovered a devastating truth. The Hell Factory constructed in Necrovol by the Khan Maker. Upon their return to Argent D'Nur, the Knight Sentinel confronted the Maker and exposed the dark reality of their actions. Countless innocent lives of the population and army had been sacrificed to fuel their greeds. This revelation tore their civilization apart. The indoctrinated masses stood firmly by their maker gods. To them, Argent energy was a blessing, a miraculous force that had enabled the Knight Sentinel to hold back the demonic hordes. It had healed the sick, extended lifespans, and eradicated disease. The Maker had bestowed the Argenta with knowledge and the promise of ascension to Urduk after death. How could anyone dare to question them? They dismissed the accusations as a test of their faith. Yet others saw the truth. The Knight Sentinel denounced the Maker's abhorrent actions, condemning their deceit and the lives lost in their pursuit of power. This division fractured their society, plunging it into a brutal civil war. On one side stood the devout followers of the Maker, who fell deeper into their reliance on Argent's energy. On the other side were those who rejected the Maker and returned to the worship of the Wraith. Even the ranks of the Knight Sentinel were not immune to the rift. Brother turned against brother as loyalty splintered. Those who sided with the Maker grew addicted to the energy they once wielded as a tool of war. Meanwhile, the Order of Deag, with their mastery of arcane magic, plotted in the shadows, feigning loyalty to the Knight Sentinel as they orchestrated their downfall. The priests of Deag had a plan. They sought to eliminate both the Knight Sentinel, the empowered human, and access the Sepulchre of Elements, the resting place of the Wraith. This sacred site could only be accessed with a key held by Commander Valen of the Knight Sentinel. If they could just get this key, they would have an unlimited supply of Wraith Essence to create Argent energy. With two wars, one against the demons and one against their own, tragedy interestingly struck Commander Valen when his son fell in battle. As a master of dark magic, Deag Grav used this well-timed loss to manipulate him. Each night, Grav invaded Valen's dreams and showed him visions of his son's torment in hell. The relentless terror slowly wore Valen down. As the civil war raged on, the priests approached the Knight Sentinel with a proposition. They claimed they could help turn the tide of the war by opening a portal to the heart of the Hell Factories, enabling the Sentinels to strike at their very source. Desperate to end the chaos, the Knight Sentinel accepted their offer. As far as they were aware, the priests were loyal to the Wraith and their cause. Meanwhile, Valen, burdened by grief and Grav's nightmares, sought the priests' guidance in secret. Deag Grav feigned sympathy and revealed that these were not dreams, they were real. In his despair, Valen pleaded for a way to save his son, and just as planned, the priest offered a bargain. He could resurrect the fallen warrior, but only if he had access to the sepulchre of elements. Broken and desperate, Valen agreed. With the commander compromised and the Knight Sentinel prepared for their mission, the priests enacted their betrayal. They opened the portal as promised, but it was a trap. When the Knight Sentinel entered Hell, the portal scattered them across its chaotic, twisted landscape, isolating them to be hunted down one by one. The priest's deception ensured that no united force remained to challenge them. In that moment, the Maker and her priests had triumphed. Their enemies lay divided, their civilization torn apart, and their grip over Argent D'Nur strengthened. With their opposition eliminated, the priests removed their masks and revealed themselves as Hell Priests. They ruled over Argent D'Nur with an iron fist, unchallenged. Vast sections of the planet fell under Hell's control and entire landscapes were consumed by the Dark Dimension. The remaining Knight Sentinel on Argent D'Nur and much of the population were enslaved. Those who refused to submit fled to the mountains, abandoning the now corrupted cities. With full dominion over the planet, the priests extinguished the Torch of Kings, a symbol of the Knight Sentinel legacy. Its light had long represented the strength of their age, and its death marked the beginning of a new one, ruled by the Hell Priests. Without anyone to stop them, the priests claimed the sleeping Wraith and had them chained within an absorbed section of Hell they called the Well. It was here that the Wraith's essence was pulled from them and converted into Argent energy to fuel Erduk. Meanwhile, in another part of Hell, the Knight Sentinel fell, leaving only 2 survivors: Commander Valen, who accepted his role in the downfall of his kind, and the human Outlander, the Doomslayer. The Slayer, empowered with the essence of a god, waged a relentless campaign of destruction. Over countless years in Hell's timeless void, he slaughtered every demon he encountered, and his vengeance carved a path of destruction. Unable to contain him, the priests devised a trap. They lured the Slayer to Kadinga Sanctum with promises of demons to slay. When he entered, they collapsed the temple around him, caught him in a rare moment of vulnerability, and used their blood magic to seal him within a sarcophagus. They bound him in an enforced slumber and marked the sarcophagus with the Slayer symbol, a grim warning to any who might disturb it. After the priests celebrated their success, relieved to have neutralized the Slayer, they moved on. Deag Grav returned to Argent D'Nur and seized control. He degraded the once revered Colosseum into a venue for bloodsport that fed the depravity of the corrupted, and Deag Nilox turned his focus to other worlds and sought new civilizations to conquer. Deag Rannoch ascended to the position of Dark Viceroy of the Chaos Throne and worked with the Maker Prophets to orchestrate wars on distant planets, worlds to one day be consumed by Hell. As 3 of Hell's most powerful figures, the priests feared the same fate they had inflicted upon countless mortals. To safeguard their souls, enchanted medallions were crafted for them and bound to their very essence. These medallions were entrusted to guardians whose sole purpose was to protect them. As long as the medallions remained intact, the priests' souls were shielded from eternal torment. They were essentially invulnerable and immortal. Although he did not have to, Deag Rannoch upheld his deal with Commander Valen, though not in the way Valen had hoped. The priest retrieved Valen's son's heart and performed a dark ritual to bind it to an ancient and powerful demon, the Icon of Sin. This entity could be a weapon for Hell, they just had to wait for the right time to use it. In this new age, life just went on. Some time later, as Deag explored other worlds to conquer, he came across Mars. A human population had travelled from Earth and had discovered a gateway to Hell. Earth, much like Argent D'Nur, was brimming with souls, and it happened to be the planet where the Doomslayer had originally come from. Not this version of Earth, but another. Unable to access Earth directly, Rannoch searched for a soul vulnerable to corruption. He found his opportunity in Dr. Olivia Pierce. During her time with the Union Aerospace Corporation, Olivia had been tasked with studying a Hell artifact known as the Helix Stone. The artifact corrupted her and twisted her ambitions, so Deag Rannoch presented himself as a Dark Lord and offered her wealth, power, and everlasting life in exchange for her cooperation. Olivia accepted his sinister pact. In the Earth year 2145, the first manned expedition ventured into Hell. Meanwhile, the priest recognized a looming problem. The humans had discovered Kadinga Sanctum. Rannoch warned Olivia that something within this sanctum posed a grave threat to his plans, a weapon he and Hell's forces had worked tirelessly to seal away, but even her best efforts failed. Her boss and mentor, Dr. Samuel Hayden, discovered the sarcophagus that held the Doomslayer and tethered it back to Mars. In 2145, guided by Rannoch, Olivia unleashed a Lazarus wave of Argent energy which triggered a Hell invasion on the Mars facility. However, to the priest's frustration, the Doomslayer awoke as the invasion began and fought relentlessly to sever the connection between Mars and Hell. As for Olivia, as the hours passed, she fled to Hell and sought refuge in the Well, the prison of the Wraith. Every task Rannoch had entrusted to her ended in failure, so when the Doomslayer inevitably followed her and destroyed the Well, the source of Wraith energy, Rannoch searched for another way to stop him. In a final act of desperation, Rannoch struck Olivia with a powerful beam of magic, which transformed her into a grotesque abomination. Her soul merged with an ancient evil, the Spider Mastermind. Even in death, Olivia failed Rannoch as the Slayer vanquished the beast and severed Hell's connection to Argent energy. The priest's plans lay in ruins, and they turned their attention to accessing Earth by other means. To their confusion, however, after the death of the Mastermind, the Slayer mysteriously disappeared. The Khanmaker was enraged by the Slayer's actions and commanded her priests to take Earth. Using their arcane magic and the dark powers of Hell, the Hell priests performed a blood ritual, creating a super gore nest in Central Europe. At first, the human population noticed atmospheric toxins and environmental hazards emanating from the nest. Over time, it emitted powerful electromagnetic frequencies that tore open dimensional gates, allowing swarms of demons to pour into the world. Within the first month of the invasion, most of Earth's population was slaughtered. The priests had bound their lives to this invasion, ensuring that as long as they lived, Earth's destruction would continue. Deag Nilox was tasked by the Khanmaker with ensuring the invasion's success and descended to Earth. From his unholy barge, carried on the back of a demonic titan, he oversaw the escalating carnage. His cruelty knew no bounds as he captured civilians and drained their blood for occult rituals. Deag Rav remained on Argent D'Nur, presiding over the corrupted arena. Deag Rannoch, who had laid the foundation of the invasion, set up operations in an Arctic Union Aerospace Corporation facility on Earth. There, he conducted horrific experiments combining flesh and machinery to create new weapons for Hell. His most fearsome creation was the Doom Hunter, a cybernetically enhanced Agadon hunter built specifically to confront the Doomslayer if he returned. By 2163, Hell's forces had consumed the majority of the planet. In the burning ruins of New York, the priests prepared for their final blood ritual, intended to completely consume Earth. They awaited only the omen of the sixth seal. On his hell barge, Deag Nilox believed himself to be untouchable, but his confidence shattered when the Doomslayer appeared before him. Consumed by rage, the Slayer charged. Nilox warned him that his soul was protected and that he could not die, but the priest's confidence turned to panic when the Slayer revealed the medallion he had retrieved. Unknown to Nilox, the Slayer had hunted down and slain his guardian and broken the protection over his soul. When the priest saw the medallion, panic truly set in. With a crushing grip, the Slayer put an end to the first priest's life. Death brought no escape for Nilox. His soul was dragged to hell, where he became a part of the very torment he had inflicted upon countless others. He would be tormented and then transformed into the energy he had sought to wield. With Nilox's death, 1/3 of the Blood Pact was broken and Hell's hold on Earth weakened, but the Slayer's task was far from over. Meanwhile, Deag Grav and Deag Rannoch were close by, meeting with the Khan Maker when the Slayer interrupted them. Their anger flared at the intrusion, and shock followed as they realized one of their own had been killed. Despite the Slayer's actions, they refused to falter. Rannoch defiantly proclaimed that the sacrament of Earth's souls would still be offered to the great Khan Maker. He declared that the energy source the Slayer had destroyed would be replaced by the souls of mortals. They clung to their belief in the prophecy, convinced that the Slayer could not save humanity from its judgment. Before the Slayer could strike, however, the Khan Maker intervened and teleported the priests to safety. Rannoch found himself back at his Arctic facility, and with confirmation that the Slayer had returned, he prepared his Doom Hunter for battle. Still, when this predator arrived shortly after, the Guardian was no match for the Slayer's rage. Rannoch's stronghold became a slaughterhouse. Cornered, he attempted to bargain for his life. He offered the Slayer gifts and enhanced power to aid him on his noble quest, but the Slayer had only rage. With the swift move of his blade, Rannoch joined Nilox in eternal torment. Although the Khan Maker had done everything in her power to hide the location of her final priest, the Slayer eventually found him at the arena in Sentinel Prime on Argent D'Nur. This was the same arena where the priests had first witnessed the humans' combat prowess, and now it would become the site of Deag Grav's demise. Even in his final moments, Grav remained steadfast. He believed that his death and the death of his fellow priests would change nothing. To him, Hell's plans were rigid, and the Slayer's efforts were in vain. He faced his end without fear. With a single shotgun blast to the face, the final priest fell, and with him, Hell's once unbreakable hold over Earth faded. The Order of Deag had initially been established to honor the king of Argent D'Nur, follow the Wraith, and guide the population through their spiritual journey. Through the manipulation of dark forces and the weakness of man, Deag Rannoch, Deag Grav, and Deag Nilox fell so far and became the opposite of what their order once stood for. These men ushered in the Dark Age through their actions, through their greed, and because of them, countless innocent souls across the galaxy were subjected to endless torment to become a product, a power for the Hell Priests to use. The story continued on long after their deaths, but they were incredibly significant in this timeline. As of now, they became what they subjected others to: torment. Happy New Year and welcome to the first Doom video of the year. I have wanted to explore these guys in more detail for a while. The fact they were always there in the background, manipulating situations to get what they wanted. These were truly evil and I feel like they do not get enough attention. I should mention that they were in Mighty Doom, but there's not a lot to talk about on that front. I am so excited for Doom the Dark Ages, and I cannot wait to see how much of these guys are shown. We saw only a little bit in Doom Eternal, and I think it will be interesting to find out more about them. Just what were they capable with their magic? How cruel were they? We have a great year of games coming up. Doom the Dark Ages, Fable, potentially Half-Life. I'm hopeful. A Talos Principle remake with new DLC, Silksong? 2025 could be a great year. That was everything I wanted to say. If you enjoyed this video, then I would love you to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you did not, and let me know what you thought in the comments below. Finally, I would like to thank my gold tier patrons and channel members: Queen RB, Lewis, Oren X, Drakey Phoenix, Daniel Cal Drawings, 501st Clone Boy, Ruben Mendoza, Imperial Embers, Canafex, Jimsy, Average Sol, Azu, Jonas, Yali Rodriguez, and Detroit. What did you think of this topic? Were the priests victims of corruption or just truly evil? And what would you like me to cover next? Let me know in the comments below. This is where our story ends. Check back soon for a new one.